Okay, a platform technology can be advantageous in so many different market segments. Micromensio, the next startup to pitch, has a platform with many different applications that they can pursue, especially in the field of healthcare. Happy to introduce Micromensio to the group.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Brendan Crowley, co-founder and CEO of Micromensio, and we are enabling the future of at-home testing. That looks good, I guess. All right, so Micromensio is enabling the future of at-home testing. So let me start this presentation and story with the prologue. So the healthcare system is experiencing several major challenges. Doctors and other care professionals are overburdened with demand. Access to care is reduced. Getting care is often inconvenient with all of the efforts required for scheduling and traveling to appointments. The traditional fee-for-service model is breaking down and costs are ballooning. But there is hope due to several emerging trends that are poised to transform the healthcare space. So the patient-centered and value-based care model is evolving to replace the traditional fee-for-service model. And trends such as personalized and preventative care, real-world evidence, telehealth, and remote monitoring are all supporting this. Taken all together, all of this points to or enables decentralized care. So that is moving care away from central facilities like hospitals and clinics and towards the home where possible. But there is a challenge with moving care towards the home, and that is how to handle sample testing that is currently done in clinics or central lab facilities. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Debbie. Debbie is very stressed and experiencing several symptoms. She's one of millions of people experiencing the effects of a hormone imbalance. But the good news is that Debbie is willing to tackle this problem and take control of her health and well-being. And there are interventions she can pursue to address this, including things like changing diet, changing behavior, and supplementation as well. The first thing she has to do is confirm the cause of her symptoms. And then she'll choose an intervention to try in order to address the problem, assess how that is going, and make adjustments if necessary. So the conventional path to this is the following. So you'd book an appointment with your doctor, go to an appointment, assuming that Debbie has a doctor, she could do that. Then typically end up at a lab to give a sample. You then wait several days, maybe weeks, for the lab to process the sample and report the results to your doctor. And then another appointment with the doctor to discuss results and a plan of action. The problem with this is that Debbie is a very busy person, and this process is inconvenient and slow. Additionally, decisions are made based on one data point, which may or may not lead to a good assessment. So Debbie might come across a better solution, and that is direct-to-consumer at-home testing. So she would order a test online from a company. They would deliver a sample collection kit to her home. Debbie can then collect her sample, possibly have to store it until she's able to mail it back to a central lab for testing. And she would then receive the results from the lab online several days later. So this solution is more convenient, although you still, with this sample collection and mailing process, have to handle that, what happens if the sample is lost in the mail or if the sample degrades during transit. This is also still a slow process with about a week for delivery on either end and another week for processing and getting results. It's also quite expensive. For example, a 4-point salivary hormone test is about $160 US. Taken all together, these limitations mean that the testing is going to be infrequent, which means Debbie does not have a lot of information to validate her intervention is working. So Micromensio solves this pain with a truly at-home testing solution. So Debbie would order our product through our partners, which gets delivered to her home. She can then collect and analyze the sample in minutes and have results displayed on her personal connected device. This allows her to test at her convenience as often as she wants, including multiple times per day, which is necessary to properly characterize biomarkers with a circadian rhythm. And this allows her to test more frequently, collect more data, and validate that her intervention is working with a much quicker feedback loop. So we leverage our proprietary sensing technology platform to provide this solution. It consists of a single-use test kit with our custom wireless sensor microchips embedded in the consumable. Then we have a small portable reader device that communicates with the microchip in the consumable, and it displays the results on a mobile app. Then on the back end, there's a cloud system that can handle data analysis and a recommendation engine. So our business model here is B2B2C. We sell our hardware products through supply contracts with fixed volume and pricing to our business partners, who are digital health and wellness companies and telemedicine companies that have offerings for consumers or patients. So our partners will distribute our products to the end users like Debbie through various business models. Now, from our partners' perspective, having a rapid test solution in the hands of their users allows them to test more frequently, collect more frequent data, and that improves the validation of our partners' offerings and improves the experience for their users. Then on the user side of this, somebody like Debbie gets a reusable reader device and initial test kits for roughly the same price that she would pay to a service based on central lab testing. But then having this reusable reader in the home significantly reduces the barrier to further testing and data collection to improve the validation of her intervention. So our analysis of this beachhead market of stress biomarker testing indicates a serviceable, obtainable market of about 230,000 users in the US and Canada between the ages of 25 and 60, and 58 million in revenue. And this translates to about 16.5 million users and 4 billion in the total addressable market if we include all G20 countries. Our competitors in this space are mainly the companies using central lab testing. So that would be major players of Everlywell, Thorne, Let's Get Checked, and ZRT Labs. So I already described how our solution is superior in terms of convenience, turnaround time, cost, and testing frequency. There are a few companies that have rapid salivary hormone tests products, and that's Oasis Diagnostics and Soma Bioscience. They're using conventional lateral flow-based technology alongside readers that are able to quantify the measurement and digitize it. There are some limitations with this lateral flow technology, mainly in terms of sensitivity and multiplexing capabilities. Additionally, these companies are not really marketing their products to general consumers like Debbie. Oops. So my co-founder, Enver Kilinch, and I have PhDs in microelectronics, and we worked together for about 4 years at the University of Toronto as postdocs developing this technology platform. We're now supported by multiple U of T incubators, as well as Venture Lab's Hardware Catalyst Initiative program, which provides significant in-kind services and resources for our development of semiconductor and hardware products. So about $1.5 million of research funding went into developing this platform. It's been verified through multiple prototyping runs using commercially available microelectronics manufacturing technology, and thus it's largely de-risked from a manufacturing perspective. There are 5 issued patents on the core technology, and recently we've signed a term sheet with a strategic lead investor. Going forward, we aim to grow our tech team, customize our platform, and develop the MVP for our beachhead market, as well as grow our IP portfolio. That will be followed by a validation study to demonstrate the efficacy of our solution. And following that, we'll be able to scale up, kind of optimize the user experience, do pilot production, and ultimately launch with initial product sales targeted for about within 2 years. Currently, we are planning to raise a $750,000 pre-seed round that will carry us through this validation phase. And that would be followed by a seed round and commercial supply contract for scale up and go to market. So I'll end this story with the epilogue. Why is now the time for this type of solution? So I've already talked about the changing paradigm in healthcare. And in addition to that, consumers are increasingly able and willing to pay for healthcare services and are more comfortable with services from non-traditional players as well. So there's this growing appetite for at-home testing, and it's only accelerated due to COVID-19. Our competitors in the using central lab testing, such as Everlywell and Let's Get Checked, are taking full advantage of the situation. Let's Get Checked has witnessed unprecedented growth in demand for at-home diagnostics and has grown its revenue by over 1,500% year over year. Everlywell has similarly seen 4 or 5x growth in a number of their products, and their CEO says that this is representative of the shift in consumer health behavior that will continue in a big way in many different verticals, including testing, making things more convenient, digitally enabled, and in the home. So Micromensio hits on all of these points, and we can disrupt this space with a superior offering. So thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. First question is from Phil Joseph. How accurate is this versus traditional lab testing?
Oh, so yeah, we will definitely aim to validate that it's as good or better than central lab testing. Otherwise, can't really sell it.
Okay, next question from Mike Kalisiak. What exactly is being tested? Specific biomarkers?
Yes, so in this case, we're interested in testing stress biomarkers, so things like cortisol, DHEA, and others.
Okay, you talked about how your technology is a platform. What do you envision for your roadmap?
Yeah, good question. So we're aiming to start with this kind of wellness consumer type of product, as that will allow us to get to market quicker. But ultimately, what we're interested in is really getting into the chronic disease monitoring. So things like cardiovascular disease, liver disease, things of that nature. I think there's a significant opportunity there.
Next question. Usually test results have to be provided by a healthcare professional. How do you circumvent that aspect?
Do you mean like prescribed or like a test requisitioned or?
Well, I mean, typically you have to have a healthcare professional beside these, either interpreting the results or adding more like information.
Oh, sure.
Because right now it's the end user with your system getting information. How are you getting past the need to have a healthcare professional in between that process?
Yeah, so I can't remember if I mentioned it. I may have missed it, but so most of our partners working in this space are actually implementing a way to provide recommendations to the user. Most of those would be backed up by medical professionals. So we rely on our partners for that.
Okay. What samples are tested? Is it urine, blood, saliva?
Yeah, in this case of the stress hormone testing, we're looking at saliva, but we certainly can get into other samples like urine and blood as well.
Follow-up question from Joshua Tessier. What regulatory challenges will you face?
Yeah, so for the initial wellness market, that's one of the reasons we're choosing it is a fairly low regulatory burden. Really, the key is that we demonstrate that our test results are the same that you would get from a central lab. But when we get into things like chronic disease monitoring, certainly we have to do proper clinical studies for that.
Have you validated the approach with any specific physicians or clinics?
We're working on that to further validate it.
Okay. And I guess, are there any specific geographic locations that you're planning on entering first, or is it, a focus on North America?
North America will start. Our partner actually has interest in Korea as well, so that might be one.
Okay. Just looking to see if there's any other questions. All right. Thank you for your time, Brendan. Very much appreciated.